Take a quick look around you right now. The milk in your fridge, that smartphone in your hand, even the medicine in your cabinet. Well, every single one of those items traveled on a truck to get to you. They were carried across India by road. But behind this massive, relentless industry lies a really surprising reality. Everything around us is actually moved by an industry operating on shockingly thin margins. So welcome to this explainer on the hidden economics of India's trucking empire, where we're going to break down exactly how this fascinating, vital business actually works. To put the massive stakes into perspective right out of the gate, just consider this number, 70%. Road transport carries roughly 70% of India's domestic freight. We aren't just talking about some minor industrial sector here. We are literally talking about the absolute lifeline of a rapidly growing subcontinent of over 1 billion people. Without these trucks moving day and night, commerce just doesn't happen.
Let's dive into our first section, India's logistics backbone, the arteries of the economy. Simply put, when trucks move, the economy moves. But when they stop, supply chains stall completely. Think about agriculture or fast-moving consumer goods, like the packaged food and toiletries we grab every day. Massive e-commerce operations, steel, cement, pharma. Every single one of these mega industries is entirely dependent on uninterrupted freight movement. If these trucks stop rolling, farms can't ship produce, factories completely run out of raw materials, and port cargo just piles up. It creates this massive ripple effect that touches every single consumer. Moving on to Section 2, the trucking balance sheet. Revenue versus costs. So, revenue isn't just a simple one-size-fits-all thing. Money flows in through all sorts of channels, per-trip contracts, per-kilometer pricing, dedicated fleet agreements, and long-term industrial contracts. But here is the absolute secret to profitability that dictates whether a trucker actually survives. Picture this. A truck takes a lucrative load of electronics from Delhi down to Mumbai. They get paid pretty well for that outbound trip. The driver drops off the cargo, ready to head back. But what if that truck has to drive all the way back from Mumbai to Delhi completely empty? They are burning hundreds of liters of diesel and paying driver wages for absolutely zero income. Securing a return load is absolutely crucial. If they sit for days in Mumbai just waiting for goods, or are forced to return empty, the profit from that first trip completely wiped out by the return journey. And dramatically contrasting that revenue is a relentless wave of operating costs. Look at how fuel takes up a staggering 50% of total expenses. Diesel takes the absolute biggest bite out of any trucker's revenue, making it the undeniable king of operating costs. What this means is that whenever there is even a slight hike in diesel prices at the pump, operating margins are instantly and severely squeezed. The rest of the income gets eaten up super fast by maintenance, financing, permits, tolls, insurance, and of course, driver wages. The tiny buffer between surviving and failing is constantly under attack. And here is the real kicker. Monthly loan installments, the EMIs, and permit fees do not stop when the engine stops. There are huge, hidden financial pressures in this business. Even if a truck is completely idle, say the driver is sick, or they're stuck waiting days for that essential return load, those loan payments still have to be made. The insurance premiums don't hit pause. National and state permits keep expiring. The clock is always ticking against the truck owner, burning through their capital even when everything is at a complete standstill. Which brings us to Section 3, surviving on thin margins, through a quick case study.
6 lakh rupees, 600,000 rupees. Now, if I told you a single truck was generating that kind of impressive monthly revenue, you'd probably think the owner is rolling in cash, right? 600,000 rupees sounds like a highly successful micro business. But the harsh reality of this industry is that this impressive top-line revenue figure often yields only a very, very modest operating surplus by the end of the month.
Let's actually walk through how fast that 600,000 rupees vanishes step by step. Step 1. Immediately deduct fuel and tolls. Boom, over half your money is just gone, burned on the highway just to keep the wheels turning. Step 2. Deduct routine maintenance, replacing worn-out tires and paying the driver's wages. Now your pile of cash is getting uncomfortably small. Step 3. Deduct the finance EMIs for the truck loan itself, plus administrative costs like insurance. What you are left with after these 3 relentless steps is just a tiny fraction of that original 6 lakhs. The operating costs ruthlessly take their cut before the owner sees a single rupee of true profit.
Because of all these factors, you often hear this phrase, one accident or a single week without cargo can erase all profits. Because those margins are so incredibly thin, there is absolutely zero room for error.
A single unexpected breakdown that needs an expensive engine part, a minor fender bender on a congested highway, or literally just one idle week waiting for goods completely wipes out the fragile profit margins for the entire month. The pressure to just keep moving is immense.
All right, Section 4, the power of scale. Solo operators versus fleets.
So how do they survive? On one side of the market, you have the solo truck owner, and they are incredibly vulnerable. They pay retail prices for fuel at the pump, they are completely at the mercy of independent brokers to find return trips, and they have to pay premium rates at local mechanics for repairs. But on the other side, you have the massive fleet operators. They survive and thrive by wielding the power of scale. They negotiate bulk fuel pricing directly with oil companies, they use sophisticated logistics software to optimize routing and minimize those devastating empty kilometers, and they run their own in-house maintenance workshops, drastically cutting down servicing costs. In a game of pennies, scale is for sure the ultimate advantage.
Finally, let's look ahead in Section 5, the future of freight and technological upgrades.
We are actually witnessing a massive revolution in asset utilization that's completely changing the math of this industry. Digital freight marketplaces are stepping in to connect truckers with loads instantly, cutting out the middlemen and solving that dreaded empty return trip problem. GPS tracking and fast-tag electronic tolling are eliminating those massive bottlenecks at toll plazas, keeping trucks moving and saving precious time and fuel. Improved highways and dedicated freight corridors mean way faster turnarounds for every single journey. And looking just over the horizon, the adoption of liquefied natural gas and electric trucks promises to fundamentally alter that massive fuel cost percentage we broke down earlier. Technology is literally stepping in to drastically improve how these assets are utilized and managed.
When you boil it all down, risk, capital, and relentless movement. Every single delivery is this high-stakes, stressful balancing act. Behind every single truck you see is a complex chain of people desperately trying to balance fluctuating fuel prices, unpredictable maintenance, and the ever-ticking clock of loan payments. The physical movement of goods is just a constant everyday battle against friction and time.
So, I'll leave you with this. What momentum is the next truck you pass carrying? The next time you are cruising down the highway and you pass a truck, recognize that it's carrying far more than just cargo in the back. It is carrying the literal momentum of India's economy, driven by people operating on an absolute razor's edge of profitability. It's an incredibly resilient system. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If you found this breakdown of the hidden economics of trucking insightful, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the unseen systems that run our world. Catch you next time.